All right, so this is not the entire TSC, but the people on the TSC who are at this conference who did not tell me no, except one. I'm kidding. So yeah, we're just going to talk a little bit about how the project runs, how all of you got here. But I'm actually going to let each of you introduce yourselves and talk about a little bit about how you got involved in the Node.js project. I'm going to start with James and come this way.
Hello again. I'm James Snell from IBM. I've actually only been involved with Node for about a year, surprisingly, which says something about stepping up as a contributor, working your way through, and actually working yourself up to the core technical team. So that's me.
So I'm Colin Ihrig from Nearform. I started contributing to the project just kind of in my spare time, and my manager at the time, Aaron Hammer, saw some release notes and was like, "Oh, you've been doing this, so do you want to do this full time?" And so I was doing that for a while, and then I guess I kind of weaseled my way onto the TSC somehow. And then most recently, I left Walmart to go to Nearform, where they pay me to work on this pretty much full time. Chris?
Hello. I'm Chris Dickinson. I am a registry engineer at NPM Inc. I got involved with the project about 2 years ago. I was a longtime community member and involved in publishing packages and having fun and the usual Node thing. And then Aaron Hammer approached me about working on the project full time at Walmart, and I took him up on that because that was awesome. And then have just been contributing ever since.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah Senkpiel. Lots of people better know me as Fishrock123. I've been involved since when IOJS started emerging, really. I really got involved, started working on Node core and the project itself rather than just NPM modules that I had previously worked on. And nowadays, I've been volunteering a lot of my time through that, but NodeSource helps me out now on that and on contributing to Node core and whatnot. And I do project-wide things from everything from reviewing issues to general coordination on the TSC and Node.js releases and everything in between.
I don't know. Talk.
Hello? Yes, my name is Alexis Campaila. I work for a small consulting company called Jania Systems. We're hired by Microsoft to work on Node, primarily to make sure that Node works well on Windows, which is not an easy job. And I've been involved in Node since v0.11. And I'm part of the TSC and CTC and participate in the build working group and the API working group.
All right, so in the last 3 months, and then also looking forward to the next 3 months, what has the TSC been focused on, and what are we going to focus on in the future?
Well, you said for the next 3 months, what are we going to focus on?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now that we got things back together, and we're kind of on this track, I think really the focus is to kind of start building that roadmap for what is next. There is, some technical debt in the core. There's things that can be improved. So it's identifying what those things are, and then focusing on the stability still, but still identifying what those changes are and starting that process. So.
I think also from a TSC level, looking at how we can bring libuv into the project will, over the next couple months, provide us with a lot of experience and just general know-how of how we might want to take the project going forward after that sort of happens, assuming everything goes well there.
And also figuring out good mechanisms for the road mapping, figuring out what we're going to do next and how we communicate it out. I did a recent kind of poll of contributors, and I'm hoping to compile that into an actual actionable set of items that we all can talk about.
Cool. All right. So how can people follow what the TSC is doing? what are the processes like if you wanted to see what was going on? How would you do that?
Who says we know what's going on? I mean, and that's the TSC meetings. Every week we have so there's the TSC and the TC. The TC meets every Wednesday. It's about it shifts. Right now it's like 12 p.m. Pacific. Those meetings are they're supposed to be open. Right now we're having some challenges where we record it and then upload it online. Later on the SoundCloud account. We encourage folks, watch those or get involved. Get on our IRC channel. It's the #IOJS channel on Freenode. Jump on there, follow what's going on there. But it's most of the work is done through GitHub. So jump into the GitHub repos, follow those, and
yeah. So the Node.js. So the SoundCloud user account, I believe, is just just Node.js, and that's where all the recordings go up to. Not of just CTC and TSC meetings. I think some working group meetings go up there too, and yeah.
There's minutes in the Node repo as well.
Yes.
For every meeting.
Yeah, I think if you had to pick just one, it would be GitHub.
There's also a TSC repo where issues specific to the TSC are being discussed.
Also, if anyone's wondering about the io.js IRC channel, I'm going to be renaming that probably the end of this week or next week to node-dev. So
There'll be a forward though, so it'll still work. Okay, so explain how somebody would get involved and become a committer, and then eventually how a committer might become a member of the TSC or CTC.
So if you, again, go to GitHub.
Work for Aaron Hammer. No, I'm kidding.
The issue tracker has a ton of labels on it. I think one of them is good first contribution or something like that.
Yep.
That's a great place to start. The documentation always needs some love. Tests always need improvement. I think that's a good way to start.
Yeah. Really any contribution, and no matter how small you think it is, there's a tremendous amount of value. We've had commits which do nothing more than fix typos in one of the markdown files. Those are just as valuable as these commits that refactor large portions of the core code. Those commits are what's going to start getting your name out there and having other core contributors recognize you as a contributor. And as you build those, that set of commits, the nomination to get the commit bit yourself and being able to do those code reviews and that kind of thing will pretty much come naturally. And we've had a few, very great examples of this recently, where some folks just kind of jumped in, started making small commits, got more and more active, a little braver. They tested the water and it was okay. And now they're very active contributors. So it's very valuable.
And you don't necessarily need a huge number of commits to get nominated either. There's people on there that have 2, 3 commits that are now collaborators. So
I had no commits on Node Core when I became a collaborator. I reviewed issues and PRs.
Yeah.
I did a talk on this earlier, especially on the core part. So hopefully there's a recording that you can go watch if you're interested in that later. But in general, Node Core and specifics can be a little bit frightening at first, but once you kind of get past the edges, it's not actually that difficult to kind of do things around in it. There's parts of it that are really simple, and there's parts of it that are really complex, and you're always going to have that in that sort of project. Also on the TSC bit, so to actually get in the TSC from there or from any other part of the project, we don't have a strict process of when we go and look for new people to bring on, but we're definitely keeping an eye out on the different projects and seeing when we can bring someone onto the TSC, and that's just done by someone from the TSC nominating them on.
Right. Yeah, I think In terms of what we'd be looking for, it really comes down to commitment to the project, not necessarily the amount of work that you've done, but that you are going to commit to the project and to the community, more importantly to the community, in helping drive Node forward. If any of us saw that level of commitment, then I'm sure all of us would be, yeah, come help us out. There's lots of work to do. We can always use more. So
There's also the avenue of going through the working groups. If you're not necessarily interested in working on core itself, you can help out with the documentation working group, streams working group. The website working group is great too. All those are great avenues to get your name into the ecosystem and work towards the commit bit. And also, I've found that it's really handy when approaching the core project to have a question in your mind like, I want to know how something works, and then work through that, and then concentrate on pulling out issues about that thing, and just familiarize yourself with some section of the code base, like how the process bootstraps or how streams work, how domains work would be super handy if anyone wants to bite that particular bullet.
All right. That was great, you guys. I'm really impressed. All right, so the Chakra announcement went out late last week. So Microsoft is open sourcing their Chakra VM. They, of course, already have Node building on Chakra, and it's running in all these different places that it wouldn't run with just V8, like Windows 10 IoT. What do you all think the impact of Chakra is going to have on Node, like more immediately and then also kind of looking more long-term?
I think it'll have a stabilizing effect on the V8 API, hopefully. I mean, that's what I would hope for most of all. And it'll be interesting to see how the two VMs, I don't want to say compete, but compete with new features. A node with async await is a very different node than we're looking at today. And the core APIs may have to evolve to adapt to that. Disclaimer, I like promises. But
yeah, competition is a good thing. It's good for the ecosystem. Microsoft's doing some really exciting things. I don't know if you've had a chance to go look at the demo that they have up there for it. They're doing some really cool stuff, especially with debugging. Personally, I think it's great. Now, of course, IBM and all the other companies are going to have to go back and, okay, what does this really mean to us? But as far as the community is concerned, it's fantastic. It's great to see. We had the Collaborators Summit in August, and the question came up, if these alternative backend runtimes started to emerge, how are we as a project going to were we going to embrace those, or were we going to be indifferent towards it? And it was pretty much unanimous that we were going to absolutely embrace those efforts to have these alternative runtimes. So it's great to see this come out, and thank you, Microsoft, for moving forward on it.
Yes, some diversity is definitely good. One of the features I love is the time travel debugging.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, go down to the Microsoft booth and get a demo. So you can, in the debugger, you can debug your own application, and not only you can step forward, but you can also step backwards, and you can run forward and run backwards and hit breakpoints in both directions. And you can actually turn this on in your production environment. And with a very small overhead, the figures point to a 10% overhead, be able to replay your whole process.
Yeah.
And after the fact, basically, go back in time and find out what happened.
So we actually have a working group. It's maybe not the best named working group. It's called the API working group. And sort of the idea of that is that we might be able to make a lower level, not strictly Node API, that then what we know as Node can be put on top of, and that other VMs or implementers could build to that level, and that level could be tested rigorously, and then we could build Node on top of anything like that. And so the API Workings group has been looking at that sort of thing and looking at what JX Core has done and considering all these things and how we might make this larger shift, if it's possible, how it's possible, what the details are. that sort of thing.
Right. One of the opportunities is bringing Node to the mobile platforms.
Yeah.
Right now, Node is great on the server, great on the client, but it's kind of absent from mobile apps.
Right.
And one of the challenges is the engine support on the different mobile platforms.
One of the challenges of this, I mean, it's not a trivial challenge. Node is very dependent right now on those V8 APIs. In creating that abstraction layer in a way that does not break the existing ecosystem, and that we can bring those native modules along with it as well, is something that everyone recognizes, okay, we need to get there at some point. We're just still figuring out how. So this API working group is kind of the nexus for that work. If you have any ideas, please jump in on that working group and help us out.
So when we talked about that at the Collaborator Summit, I think we got into the debate of what it meant to be Node and what it meant to be like Node compatible. So there was also talk of like a test suite that if you were going to plug in your engine, you would have to pass, I guess, a certain percentage or all of the tests to say you were Node.
So we talked a little bit about the native API, but there's also the whole FFI story, right? Is there anything going on there to like make that faster or get it like more kind of supported in core?
Well, there was a proposal made by one of the members of the Chakra team that kind of showed that FFI doesn't have to be slow. There's a perception, I think, in the community that FFI has a big performance impact, when in reality, V8 is already making the transition to native code, and all we have to do is put up the glue to make a call to a given method signature. So I think it's definitely possible to have an FFI interface for native modules, and this would greatly simplify the model in that we wouldn't have to expose all the V8 internals, all the libvieway internals, all the Node internals to native modules, which is one of the big problems why we then need to recompile them with every major Node release.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about how Chakra having a weight might have a change or an impact in the community. But in general, no matter what we do, we're going to end up getting more ES6 features landing in Node, right? Like, what impact do you all think that this is going to have on core and on the community?
I didn't quite hear the questions.
I love that. Can you try again? What impact are new ES6 features landing in Node are going to have on the Node API itself and on the community?
So, as I talked about yesterday, stability in those APIs for the ecosystem is critical. One of the things that we need to be able to do is try to find this balance between delivering this new functionality and improving on these APIs while not breaking everybody, or at least not getting yelled at when we break everybody. The URL module fun is one prime example of that. So one of the challenges is with the community, trying to figure out what the right feedback loop is okay, we need to change this piece. We need to understand what breaks, and we're working on better smoke testing and automating where we can, for any given version of Node, what percentage of the ecosystem or whatever, what's going to break, and we're working on automating that. So that'll be awesome. But just kind of getting this loop where, okay, we're going to make this change. What do you guys think about it? Is this a good change? Is it a bad change? Is it something that we should do? We need that input from the community. And I think the more we get that conversation going, the better things are going to go.
Especially if we can do it before anything actually ships.
Yeah. Before things ship is good.
Also, so that's like sort of for things we might expose that use specific ES6 features, but internally, Core is actually using a lot of ES6 features right now. We're using consts to make sure that we don't redeclare things ever. Also, there's some have landed, but there's still some PRs open that replace usages of function bind to arrow functions because that's a lot faster. So there'll be improvements in that sort of respect too, where possible.
There's also the situation that just because something ships, it might be ready, it won't break, but it might be slow. So we have to take that into consideration too.
All right, I think we're ready to take some questions from the audience. Just like stand up and put your hand up, put both hands up, and Jill will get you a mic. Come on in. There we go, all the way in the back. I can't, you're really far, but is that Bradley Meck? Yeah. Okay.
So we've been talking a little bit about future JavaScript coming into Node Core with async await and just now with arrow functions. Do you see anything as a potential clash of conventions? So there's always been promises versus callbacks. Do you see anything with the new technologies causing some friction coming in?
So one thing that could potentially cause friction, but I'm actually really excited to see it land, is V8 exposing their readable stream spec. Because it's very nice. It's streams based on promises as a substrate instead of event emitters. But when that happens, it will come in as a global. And so there will be two kinds of readable streams. Well, one new kind plus the existing kinds we have. The bestiary we have now. So that could cause some confusion and some conflict. And figuring out how we support that sort of API, like do we modify core to be able to give back what WG streams? It's what WG, it's just really fun to pronounce it like it rhymes with Luigi. What kind of compatibility are we going to look to have with those? And that's an open discussion. It'll probably have to happen on the issue tracker.
Anybody else? Over there. While they're running it, I should ask questions like, what's your favorite color? And then,
So do you guys think it would be important to get better representation on the TC39 of some of the Node use cases, concerns, and more people focused on server-side issues with JavaScript? Then it seems like a lot of the representation there is more interested in browser and client.
This is actually something that the TSC has discussed, is whether we do need to have a little more formal relationship with TC39 and kind of represent the server-side JavaScript community more. I think it's still an open question. We're just kind of seeing what that level of involvement needs to be. A number of the companies that are involved are already represented, in TC39, but I know it's just an ongoing conversation.
So wasn't there some, I think the last time it came up, you were supposed to be invited, Mikeal, to
Yes.
a meeting. Did that ever happen?
Yes.
I guess it didn't go well.
It's not as trivial as we might have thought for a member organization to participate in the standards body.
Right.
So
Yeah,
we're still working it out.
So part of the issue, and Mikeal probably can speak to this a little bit more, but as the type of nonprofit that the Node Foundation is, you can't just necessarily jump into TC39 membership because of their membership rules. So it's not just a technical issue. There's also it's also a business and legal issue as well that would need to be worked out. So involvement from the companies that are involved, that are already there, advocating that server-side JavaScript point of view is going to become increasingly more important, I think. And I know that's something that's important to IBM. And hopefully, to some of the other companies that are involved as well, that they would start, speaking up on behalf of the community as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of standards bodies do that we don't see because it's not the thing that we're interested in, and it's a lot of legal side stuff, and that's the part that's a little bit harder to reconcile than we originally thought. But also, we don't really have anyone that I know of that would have the time to put in the level of involvement that it takes to actually make an impact on TC39 from a Node perspective. That's another bottleneck that we have as well. So if you're the kind of person that thrives in a standards environment and you're very dedicated to Node, please come and talk to me. And we can try to figure out a way to get you up there. Yep.
So
Yeah.
Hello. Is this working? Yeah. So diversity has meant a lot of things at this conference. I'd like to talk about the type of diversity that is about underrepresented groups. I'd like to hear about the TSC, how the TSC is thinking about prioritizing that, and if they actually think it is a priority.
100%. I mean, it's a very homogenous group up here. I mean, we're all having fun, but, frankly, we need some women up here. We need it definitely needs to be a priority. I said this yesterday, the diversity and inclusivity working group that we're charting right now, in my opinion, is the most important working group that we have. Yes, there's lots of technical issues, but the person issues are the most important things that we need to make sure we're focusing on. So,
I think there's been some progress made as far as, including people from around the world in different time zones. But as far as gender and race, I think we can do better.
Yeah, we still need to do better. I've been sort of helping to bootstrap the inclusivity working group, and I will be continuing to work with them and keep their representation on the TSC and work with them to see how we can best in terms of process, in terms of how the project works and everything, and what the needs are and what the needs of the community is, and how to get all that stuff working and make the entire situation better.
And there's an argument that diversity produces better software, but I think also morally it's the right thing to do and the right thing to focus on. And I think we're making strides on it, or at least, how to put this? We're committed to working with people that can see where we can't, and fill in those blind spots. The end goal is very important to us, and I don't think we can say within just the TSC that we have the expertise to get there ourselves, so we will need help.
Absolutely. We don't. Our experience as white male engineers is significantly different than everyone else's experience, right? We don't understand all of the issues. We need help understanding those issues. And as much help as we can get from the community, great. Please bring it to us. And if we hold ourselves to the exact same standard that we want the entire community there. We are just as accountable or more accountable to the community as anyone else. So if we overstep, if we don't, say the right things, whatever, please let us know, right? If we're not doing the right things, please step up. Please let us know, whether it's private, email, or whatever. Just point it out, and we'll work to correct it. So.
Next question. Now I am going to ask, what is your favorite color and why? Chris.
I want to say chartreuse, but it's not. It's just fun to say. Probably green. I don't know. It's a nice, chill color, I guess.
All right.
Hello, I'm Chunyang Dai, and I work for Intel. I have a question about the web worker support in Node. And the web worker provides a programming functionality for the parallelism in JavaScript, right? And the V8 engine provides the basic utility for web worker. It includes the basic message-based web worker, and also the shared array buffer-based web worker. And we have do some tests for that. We implemented a patch for Node, and we tested it. It works well. So my question for James is there a plan for Node to support this feature in Node? And if it's yes, and is it possible that we upload this feature for review in the future? Okay.
So the question is about workers, is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
So there's someone, I forget who it was, submitted a very large pull request that does implement workers that would be different than child processes, and that I believe they're still like run from the same sort of
It's the same process.
same process, but like they use like a different VM instance. But that currently is such a big piece of code change that we can't really review it all as it is together. So we're trying to get people, whoever is interested in working on that, to help break it up so that we can review that and pull it in and make just able to understand it and better adapt to the changes that might be in it.
Next one. All right, while he runs, what is your favorite color, Jeremiah, and why?
Turquoise. It's pretty.
All right.
Hello. So I'm just a regular Node.js developer, and at times I feel like V8 kind of strings you guys along for the ride. And I was wondering if you could just comment on your relationship with the V8 team currently, and if there are any plans to make it better in the future.
Better than it's been ever before.
Yeah. It's been good, or been better. Before, it almost seemed like the V8 team was like, okay, that Node thing is kind of interesting, but this is our focus over here. Here lately, we've gotten more active involvement from some folks at Google. I know they're here, so thank you. It's been going better. They're actively engaging in conversations with us over our LTS and what that long-term support cycle means, not only to us, but to them, and kind of coordinating things in terms of development and that kind of stuff. So it's a much more active conversation now than it ever was before, which is definitely a good thing. So
I think it's because we're now using somewhat relevant version of V8.
Yeah.
So they have a 6-week release cycle when we were years behind.
So yeah, I mean it's definitely, if you're not familiar, the 6-week cycle, they only support that current active. So what we were shipping in 0.12 and 0.10 was what, like what was the number, like 30 levels below or what that active was. So we were a little bit behind where they were.
So I think we've just got room for just some closing remarks from everybody. Why don't we start with James? Just close it up and just tell us about where you think Node on the technical side is going.
I said this yesterday. I've been having a ton of fun here. I've been actively involved with Node for just about a year. I'm definitely looking forward to even more over the years to come. I definitely think that the platform needs to continue to mature, which means a lot of work in those APIs. Hopefully this new shim layer, and just a lot more in terms of just stability and long-term support. So.
Not good with open-ended questions. So I think Node is great, obviously. I think we should definitely have companies, if possible, that can invest more back into it as far as like joining the foundation or hiring people that can contribute to it. Other than that, I guess go Node.
I've been really impressed to see impressed and surprised at the places that Node has turned up over the last few years. It's really been an honor to get to work on it and to get to be a part of the day-to-day work of a lot of developers. So hopefully we do right by that. That would be my goal.
If you're interested in maybe contributing, but you're not really feeling confident about that, please feel free to reach out to me, fishrock123 on Twitter and GitHub. You can find my email there if you're more comfortable contacting me that way. And I'd be more than happy to help you feel more comfortable in that and get you really started in whatever way is best.
Yeah, I've been involved since 0.11, so I'm amazed at the progress that we've made since those days and what the foundation has accomplished and the speed that we've caught. So I'm looking forward to seeing the developments and even see more contributors joining the project.
All right, with that, everybody give it up for the TSC a little bit.